Millionaires in Poverty. Sounds like a dumb title, right? Why would a millionaire live in poverty? Well, in actual fact, we see this a lot, especially here in Toronto area. We see a lot of them. Actually, we just did an FP Canada survey for retirees and trying to figure out what to do with home equity, and which raised a lot of these same issues. So now the millionaires in poverty, the underlying cause, in my opinion, is the belief that your home is your retirement. Seems like quite a few people seem to believe that when they're younger. Therefore, they don't really save anything else. Don't save up much other than that. So they get to retirement, they got a paid off home, but they want to stay in the home. So now you've got all this equity, but you've got no income in retirement. And that's what we see. I see people in Toronto, like in a $1 million or $2 million home, it's paid off. They've got almost no investments outside of that. So they're retired and they're living on, $20,000 a year before tax. And yet they have a net worth over $1 million. So now that's interesting. It's actually a difficult conundrum because there are 5 options and clearly all 5 are stupid. Okay. Probably all 5 are stupid, you should do them, but there are only 5. So you have to decide what you're going to do. And actually, if you do nothing, one of them is what you end up doing. So first one is just continue to do what you're doing. So live in poverty, be a millionaire and live in poverty. So, these people living in poverty, what I see is they're home every day. They don't travel. They don't go out for dinner or have entertainment. You could call them anytime and they answer the phone on the first or second ring because they can't go out anywhere because they don't have any money. And yet their kids one day are gonna, inherit their multi-million-dollar home. And so it seems to be, it's kind of a stupid thing to live in poverty, $20,000 a year before tax, when you are a millionaire or even a multi-millionaire. So that's clearly stupid. So what other options you could do? So the most common one that people jump to is downsize. The problem is here in Toronto, it seems like you clear little or nothing. Like you sell a $3,000 square foot home, and you move into a lot of seniors want to have a bungalow, right, all in one level. So you sell your 3,000 square foot home and you buy a 1,500 square foot bungalow and you clear just about nothing, maybe 100,000 or 200,000. You sell your home for 1.5 million, you buy another one for 1.3. Well, you really haven't gained much. So the only way to downsize effectively, if you're in a big city like this with high expensive real estate, is you got to move away from the city, like an hour or more. You got to move to a small town or move. Like we've had clients that moved out to a cottage, so they actually live on a cottage for 6 or 8 months and then travel part of the rest of the year, or winterize cottage. But anyway, they moved away from the city, and that way you can actually clear. You can sell your $1 million home and buy something for 400 or 3 or 4 or 500,000, and now you've got a chunk of money that you can live better with. But unless you do that, and most of these people want to live close to the city. So if you sell and downsize and yet you've given up half your living space and yet you've cleared little or nothing, that's clearly a stupid idea as well. So another thing is, number 3, you can sell and rent. So just sell your house and rent something. Okay, now you get all the money out and you can live off that income. Now, it seems like you're kind of, getting rid of your home. Seems for most of the seniors in that position, they would think of that as dumb. Why have a home that's rising to give me security now? So now I'm just going to live in a rented place. You know what? The rent's going to go up every year, and what are we going to do? I think a lot of these people are low risk investors. They haven't really learned to invest, so they may buy mostly GICs. And so if you take $1 million, invest in a GIC, 1 or 2%, you're getting, 10 or 20,000 a year before tax. That doesn't even pay for the rent. So you're eating into your principal constantly, right? So, and also it seems kind of dumb. Here's another way why it's stupid. So, because you're borrowing at, 3%, let's say, 3% on your house to invest it at 1 or 2% in a GIC, and there's no tax advantages for it. again, this seems like kind of a stupid option. So now if you sell and rent and invest effectively, let's say in equities, this can actually work out pretty well for you. Just to give you a concept, there's a 4% rule, which gives you an idea of how much income you could get. So you sell $1 million home, you can invest it, you can get about $40,000 a year, rising by inflation, and possibly more if you do this effectively. And it's quite tax efficient, so that can actually give you a pretty good lifestyle. Now you may spend, let's say you rent a place for, I don't know, $2,500 or $3,000 a month. So that's 30 or 35,000. So that's actually most of it, but you're gaining a little bit extra this way. So, but I think most of the people that look at that don't really see that as being a very smart option. So then you get the fourth one, you just borrow to spend. So you say you just go out and get a big credit line on your home and you just start spending from it, right? So the problem with that is you don't exactly know how long you're going to live. And, whether it's your pay, it starts compounding. You're borrowing, 20,000 or 30,000 a year extra is putting on the credit line. And now there's the interest on that and it starts to compound. And the question is, how long are you going to be able to do this? And it actually feels irresponsible to just borrow and with no one realizing, I'm never going to be able to pay this off. I'm going to have to sell my house eventually. And eventually you will be forced to sell if you do that. So depending on, you can actually do this, you can plan it. You plan how much to take out, take into account the compounding effect, and make sure that there's enough to last as long as you want to be in the house. So it can happen, but it can easily spiral out of control. So, and there's no tax deductions if you do it that way. So borrowing to spend seems like kind of irresponsible. Maybe it's a stupid way to do it as well. So the other way to do it is number 5, borrow to invest. Now, the thing about this is, in general, it's considered to be too risky for seniors to do, especially if you've really done much investing before. Now you got to borrow against your house to spend. So it seems like another stupid idea. Why would a senior do that? So, however, there are some significant advantages to this because you're still in the home. If you invest this effectively, then this can be quite beneficial over the long term. So now if you do have a higher risk tolerance and a good long-term outlook and a financial plan that you've figured this out and you understand it, you're definitely going to be able to do it long term. This is clearly the best of the 5 options. You're still in your home. You can actually get a good, comfortable income. You get a nice tax deduction on it, and it can work. But you have to be the right person, done the right way over the long term, or else this is also another stupid thing. So the clear thing is, we call it the big mistake. So you borrow money against your home to invest, and the big mistake with capital's big mistake is if you sell or invest more conservatively after a market decline. Now, if you do that even once, then this whole concept of borrowing to invest is also stupid. All right, so we get 5 stupid options, but you know what? You need to pick one. And actually, that's where a financial plan could come in really handy. It's if you do nothing and don't have a plan, you're just going to continue to live in poverty. But let's think these through. Let's work them through. What's happening with your life? What do you want to leave for your kids? What's the lifestyle you want to have? What risk level are you able to do, or what can you learn? Can you learn to have a risk, a bit more risk tolerance? So you have to kind of think it through. And there's clearly no great option here for most people, but that's why it's important to think it through. Well, what's the best way to do it? So now, one of the products out there for people like this is the reverse mortgage. And the thing is, compared to a regular mortgage, it's pretty expensive. There's big upfront fees, and the mortgage rates are actually quite a lot higher than regular mortgages. So, it's just like in any case, guarantees are always expensive. So here you're guaranteeing that you won't have to pay for it. You can stay in the house as long as you want, but you kind of lose a big part of your equity. And so it's in my opinion, it's kind of it's a plan for the desperate and low risk. If you're a senior in poverty and desperate and low risk, then maybe this is all you got. And it's actually not better. It may well be better than just continuing to live in poverty. So, But it's also if you don't want to or can't learn to have a higher risk tolerance, then maybe this is all you got. So now a far more effective thing is do a version of the Smith maneuver strategy. Basically, you set up a credit line, a HELOC, or a mortgage. Mortgage, you get a lower rate, and you borrow money to invest against your home. Okay, now today that's the way you get the lowest interest rates. There's usually no upfront fees, maybe very little, but and the interest is all tax deductible. So this can actually be kind of cool. Now the investments can provide a reliable long-term income if you invest it effectively. So let's say you invest in private equities primarily. So you with a 4% rule. You can take 4%, or if you effectively manage it effectively, we've been able to find that you can reliably take 5 or even 6% a year out of your investments, as long as we manage it and you're willing to reduce your income if the investments drop too much. So, but then you can reliably take 4, 5, 6% out. Meanwhile, you're paying maybe between 2 and 4% on your mortgage or credit line. So you're actually so there's a net gain that you're gaining, this extra money for you. And plus, there's a significant tax advantage on doing the whole thing, right? Because all the interest that you pay is tax deductible, and yet you can invest for very low tax. Now, the way to invest for low tax is something called self-made dividends. So I have a post on my blog about self-made dividends, and it's a way you can take a regular income with little or no tax. And without explaining spending a lot of time on it here, self-made dividends are better than ordinary dividends in every way. So basically what self-made dividends are is it's a systematically selling investments, right? So you're going to take, you have $1 million investments, you got to take 40,000 out a year, divided by 12. So you just take 3,333, and every month you sell that much of the investment, and you take that as income. Now, if you're doing that, you're only paying the little bit of a capital gain that's on that 3,333, right? So you're not paying much tax. So if I compared that to, let's say, investing in dividend stocks, and I added pros and cons, what you would end up with is 8 pros on the 8 advantages for the self-made dividends, and 0 on the ordinary dividends. So it's clearly a better method in every way. So now you're investing effectively, and you're able to take some regular income from it. So now let me give you an example of this. So let's say I invest $1 million. Let's say it grows to $1,040,000. I just want to show you how the tax works. Okay, let's say it grows to $1,040,000, and you take 40,000 out. So you're back to $1 million again. Okay. Now the thing is, what happened is the book value of that 40,000 you take out is only $1,600, right? Because it's $1 million, and you've only taken out 1/50 a small piece of it. So the book value of that 40,000 is only $1,600. You have the capital gains are only 50% taxed, so you only put $800 on your tax return. So you just took 40,000 out of your investments, but you only have to put $800 on your tax return. So that's exactly why it's the most tax efficient. So now, interestingly, is if you are a low income, let's say that you actually are this millionaire in poverty or living on 20,000 a year, and then now you got this big tax deduction, you might actually qualify for the guaranteed income supplement, the low income supplement for seniors with low taxable income. So it's possible that you could do that, and if you do that, or especially if you're already getting some GIS, then borrowing to invest, basically half of your interest is paid to you by the government in increased GIS payments. So that could be kind of cool. So sometimes the highest paid Canadians are low income seniors. So, and it's because they have a bunch of things clawed back on top of their income. So they can often be in a 70% or higher actual tax bracket, as in if they make an extra 1,000, they only get to claim $300 after all the different clawbacks. So that's another way this could help you. So now let's give you a more normal thing. Let's say that you invested $500,000 and it grew to $1 million. So, or you sold your house, you borrowed against your house to invest in it. And let's say, for example, that the investments have doubled since you bought them. And now you're taking some income out of it. It's just, this is a more real normalized kind of example. So now you're selling 40,000 a year. That's based on a 4% rule, 4% of $1 million, right? Now the book value of that 40 million is 20,000. Because so half of your 40,000 was what you put in, and half was the growth. So the taxable gain is 10,000, and you're in the lowest tax bracket, so you're paying 2,000 tax on it. So this is a more normal situation. You take 40,000 out, you put, and you only pay 2,000 of tax. So it's effectively a 5% tax rate, really low tax rate. And then you clear after tax 38,000 out of the 40. So that's pretty good. Meanwhile, let's say you're paying 3% interest. So on the million. So remember, you're taking 4% out of your investments and paying 3% interest on the mortgage equivalent. So you think you're not gaining much. But the 3%, you pay 30,000. It's all tax deductible. So you're in the lowest bracket. So you save 6,000 in tax. It costs you 24,000. You cleared 38,000 from the investments after tax. So you're actually up 14,000 a year after tax, clear that you can spend. Now that's not the end of it though, because this grows exponentially over the years. So, all right, and it's because your self-made dividend, your income goes up every year by inflation, and yet the interest stays flat. That's why. So, let's say that year 2 and let's say your investments make an average 8% a year, which is kind of somewhat conservative number for the rate of long-term return of the stock market. So investment makes 8%. You take 4% out, so it's now grown to $1,040,000. So you're taking, so in year 2 you're taking. So what happens is you invested $1 million, it went up 8%, but that's 80,000, but you took 40,000 out, so it's now worth $1,040,000. So year 2 you're taking 4% of that, and you're taking 41,600. Tax is 2,080, so you clear 39,520, up from 38,000 the year before. Meanwhile, the interest after tax is still 24,000. So now in year 2, you've got 15,520 after tax to spend. So year 1, 14,000. Year 2, 15,500. So it's a little over 10% raise. And every year, the net gain goes up this way. So that can be the beauty of this whole situation. So now, if you do this, to do this effectively, you really need a high equity investment. So that's going to give you a decent return long term and be tax efficient. All right. So you need to be able to tolerate ups and downs in the markets. Now, you can learn to do that, or like you can learn to understand, learn what equity markets do, and learn that they go ups and down, and just commit that you're going to be into it long term regardless, and you're going to stay with it. And if you can do that, then that's the only way that this can work. Because if you, like I said, if you make the big mistake once and panic and sell once when it's down, then the whole idea is a bad idea for you. So. All right, so there's an example of the different areas and different methods that you can do. Different methods would be more effective for different people. And this is why you need a financial plan to think through what is best for you. So, but if you have a long-term strategy and a commitment to stay with it long-term, you can get a good income after tax from this that's rising quickly and still live in your home.